Organised crime is targeting our hard-earned life savings.
Money laundering is central. Criminals don't do criminality for their mum to make them proud of them. They do it for criminal benefit.
Laundering the stolen millions through front companies, offshore accounts and gold.
There is only one motive. It's to make money. It's to buy the expensive watches, to buy the big houses. It's pure greed. It's as simple as that.
Across Britain, hundreds of victims have been preyed upon.
I invested £64,000. Instead of giving, my money to men like that, I could have, leave it for my grandchildren.
Forced out of retirement, their pensions stolen.
Why do they have to do this? Why do they have to destroy people's lives?
Evidentially, this is gold dust. It shows that he is one of the people in charge of this criminal organisation.
They have the victim's money in their possession. They're controlling it, they're moving it, they're cleaning it, and effectively, they have the victim's blood on their hands.
The City of London Police tackle some of Britain's biggest money launderers, trying to take the profit out of fraud.
He's got the ability to disappear, use false identities. It all needs to be in place before we go in the door.
Someone moving fast up there.
Open the door! It's the police! You've got 30 seconds!
You are under arrest on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud.
This is just fantastic, isn't it? This is how criminals get rid of their money.
Detectives from the City of London Police have been tipped off about a high-value target arriving at Heathrow. 47-year-old Ian McDonald, one of Britain's biggest money launderers, is transiting onto Spain.
We've been looking for him for about 6 months now. We don't even know where he was. We thought he might be in Spain, but we had no information to say where he was. So it's just through luck that we've managed to find that he's on a plane. We're aware that he's had about $15 million paid through his accounts, which is all proceeds from various frauds. It's all come from UK investors who believe they're investing in US shares, which are all fraudulent, none of them exist. The reason these people commit crime or commit fraud is for criminal benefit. Without him, there would be no benefit. So he's central to their operation. He's the one that's moving the money from the US back to Spain.
Booked in business class, McDonald has no idea detectives are waiting for him.
If they're going to have documents, it's going to be in their hand luggage, and that's what we want, really. See you later, thank you.
An ex-Marine, McDonald is unfazed at being greeted by armed police.
Yes, mate. You're a celebrity. Just stop here, guys. Mr. McDonald, have we nicked him yet? Yeah.
You have to say if you remain on defence, you'll make your question something later on the call. We're going to handcuff you. Order a section 32 search.
The man travelling with McDonald, David Downs, is also arrested. Hours earlier, both were spotted in a Canadian bank, trying to move $1.4 million offshore.
Come, mate.
McDonald's got a military background. He's well regimented in the way that he constructs his business. a smooth operator to work with, less chance of leakage, able to keep his mouth shut. They have the victim's money in their possession. They're controlling it, they're moving it, they're cleaning it, and effectively they have the victim's blood on their hands from the minute the money's paid to the minute it's spent in the luxurious lifestyle that these people tend to keep.
McDonald and Downs are taken back to Bishopsgate Police Station. Detectives have only 24 hours before they must charge or release them.
Mr. McDonald, do you want to come and stand up, please, sir?
McDonald is the first to be taken into interview. He claims he's a legitimate businessman. His accounts are clean, but when questioned about his friend, Downs, he clams up.
There's obviously somebody instructing him, so there's somebody, you know, perhaps higher up the chain than he is, instructing him, using him to do this type of work. So, you know, this is what we've got to do at the moment, you know, is try and take these people out piece by piece.
David John, date of birth 01/05/1966.
That's correct.
David Downs denies all knowledge of money laundering or fraud. Their computers and phones are seized, but will take weeks to analyse.
McDonald has been bailed. We've taken his passport. We've restricted his movements, preventing him from travelling. I'm a bit frustrated that he's been able to walk out of the police station, but unfortunately that's nothing that my officers can do. We've just got to take that on the chin and carry on. Whether he ever returns to the police station, unfortunately, I'm not so certain about.
David Downs is also let out on bail. By strategically targeting the major money launderers, the City of London Police aim to take the profit out of fraud.
It causes real harm on a large scale. Make no mistake, this affects people's lives. People's lives can be destroyed by this. Money that they've set aside for those years when they can no longer work, having worked all their lives, is gone in an instant. Imagine if that was you or that was me. What would you do? Where would you turn? Everything is gone.
Detectives from the City of London Police are targeting Britain's major money launderers, hired by organised crime to legitimise dirty money stolen from British victims of fraud.
It's a moralistic point of view. Do you want to rip off your own grandfather, take all his money and watch him die? It's about whether you've got the morals to not do that at the end of the day. And that's what, many people get caught up in it, 50% walk away, but a lot of people stay because they make that judgment call about what's important to them and can they offset the guilt by having 50 grand and a nice Bentley.
One of the most sophisticated money laundering operations detectives recently dealt with involves a British-Pakistani gang who shifted £7.8 million abroad in a matter of weeks.
The gold was discovered in the converted flat in Nottingham. We conducted a search of the premises and there were two small strong boxes found. Each one of these is worth approximately £2,000. Very small, very easily hidden, compared to £2,000 in cash. Today's market is worth £65,000. There is only one motive for doing this. There's only one motive for organised criminal gangs running this kind of operation. It's to make money. It's to buy the expensive watches, to buy the big houses. It's pure greed. It's as simple as that. And it's nothing more complicated than that.
The gang stole their £7.8 million in an expertly planned and executed fraud. They targeted a respectable firm of solicitors, specialising in arranging mortgages, who had a high credit rating with Britain's major banks. They took over the company and utilised its reputation to access funds quickly.
In my experience, this is one of the most significant mortgage frauds that we've dealt with in the last 5 years. The gang were very, very skillful and very capable in pulling this off. They set out to defraud the banks of many, many millions of pounds. And they did this by creating false identities, applying for 33 false mortgages with the major banks. But the real scam was there was no property, there were no clients, and the solicitors firm sign off the certificates of title and the banks remit the money to the fraudsters.
In just 12 weeks, the banks transferred £7.8 million to the solicitors. The fraudsters laundered it through hundreds of fictitious companies.
Basically shows all of the accounts that where money was paid in, or the mortgages where money was paid in, and then all of the transactions that were undertaken by the fraudsters to launder the money through numerous different companies. On the 12th of November, they bought in Thurleston Avenue, Ilford, for $326,000. The same day, $168,000 goes out, $51,000 goes out, $117,000 goes out. So it's in and out.
By following the bank accounts, detectives identified and arrested 4 gang members responsible for laundering the cash.
I think at the end of the day, we had over 1,000 accounts that can be attributed to these 4 individuals, which showed a very involved and complex network to launder the money out through these avenues. What we're seeing is a new sort of criminal coming out, far more involved in complex financial crime rather than sort of old-fashioned crime as it was, like burglaries and robberies. Yeah.
The £7.8 million disappeared out of the UK. The criminal mastermind who bought the solicitors was never traced.
The man behind it all was a man called Mamud Ali. Ali was the solicitor who signed all 33 mortgage applications, so title of transfers. Added to that, we know that he provided false details to set up a bank account. One of the problems was that Ali, at the end of this, totally disappeared.
There's no doubt Mr. Ali knows that we're after him, but you know, it's typical of fraudsters. He thinks he's bomb-proof. He thinks he's got away with it. You know, he may feel that the heat's off.
All detectives have to go on is a photograph of 49-year-old Ali and a driving licence from the DVLA. But today, they make a major discovery.
Okay then, guys. Operation Houndstooth. There's been developments in relation to information re our most wanted, Mamud Ali. Doug, do you want to talk us through the DVLA links that we've identified?
Yeah, to inform the DVLA that his name's changed, they've sent out a driving licence in the new details. He then informs them that he's lost that driving licence, so they send out a duplicate. So now he's holding 2 driving licences in the same name.
Right, so how many driving licences do we believe he's got?
9 driving licences in total, bearing 2 photographs of the same bloke with 2 different dates of birth.
After 2 years in hiding, the architect of the fraud, known as Mamud Ali, has slipped up, giving the DVLA his real name, Mohammed Yunas, and his new address in Croydon.
Right, so we can link this guy Yunas, this identity Yunas, from the Croydon address directly to our Mr. Ali, who we're after, who we believe is the mastermind of this mortgage fraud.
Yeah.
If he got wind that we were onto him, I've got no doubt that he would be gone, he would flee. We know he's got links to Pakistan, and to be honest with you, I'm quite surprised that the guy is still residing in the southeast. It just shows you how sort of arrogant the individual is.
It's 6 a.m. 10 detectives from the City of London Police are going to arrest Mohammed Yunas. Tucked away in a quiet suburb of Croydon, Yunas believes he's done enough to cover his tracks.
Hello? Oh, okay, if you just pull up, we're about a mile away. I'll give you a call. We'll do the drive past, just to make sure the vehicles are there. Just take it nice and slow.
He's got the ability to disappear, use false identities. If the cars are not there and if he's not present, and we go in and search the house, we're in real risk of him being a flight and disappearing again. So it all needs to be in place before we go in the door without sort of revealing our hands.
That's a Q7, isn't it?
Q7.
And one of the
Doesn't
Beamers.
appear as if it's there. No, it is, yeah, Chevrolet is, it's at the far side of it. It's right in the corner, so it's there.
It's definitely there?
Yeah.
Okay. We're on.
Open the door, it's the police. Open the door. Someone moving fast up there. Open the door, it's the police. Open the door, it's the police. You've got 30 seconds. Open the door. Hello there, my name's Perry Stokes. I'm a DI in the City of London Police. We've got a search warrant to search the premises. Who else is in the house? We're just going to have a look, see who's here.
The downstairs secure, DCI Stokes heads upstairs.
Hello. We're from the police. Do you want to get yourselves ready and come downstairs, please?
Yunas is arrested at his bedside. On seeing the detectives, he faints.
Right, listen. Up on your feet, downstairs. I can imagine it's quite a shock for you. Take it steady. Don't want any accidents. Nice and slow.
Let's come through here and we'll explain what's going on.
We're here to execute a search warrant. It's in relation to a mortgage fraud. In relation to the company Montague Mason Solicitors.
What's your name, please?
Mohammed, Asif, Yunas.
And what's your date of birth?
27/11/61.
Right, Mr. Yunas, I want you to listen to me. Okay, my name's DC Perry, alright? City London Police Fraud Squad, okay? I'm telling you, you are under arrest on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud the Abbey National and Birmingham Midshires in relation to a mortgage fraud involving Montague Mason Solicitors. You're not obliged to say anything that may harm you.
Faint upstairs. It was like...
You fainted?
Well, it was like a Gillian McKeith moment.
Exactly 2 years after he went missing, detectives have finally caught Mohammed Yunas. They begin a thorough search of the 6-bedroom house.
Ultimately, we're looking for stuff that links our man directly to Montague Mason Solicitors and the false identity Mamud Ali.
Just like his money launderers, Yunas has a fondness for gold.
I know from past experience they're not cheap. Very expensive, quite probably purchased with the bank's stolen money.
Yunas is a prolific identity fraudster. Several bank cards in false names are found. Most importantly, there is one in the name of Mamud Ali, the identity he used to commit the fraud.
Mr. M. Ali?
Yes, our man, Mahmood.
Habib Bank?
Habib Bank, we've got some transactions going to Habib Bank. I'm sure we've got money going from Habib Bank to Pakistan.
With multiple identities on the go at once, Yunas had to be organised to help him remember which identity was which.
It's interesting though that he's still walking around with the identities in his wallet. So that's his current wallet, isn't it?
Yeah, one side was Sheikh and one side was Yunas.
So he's got to remember
So
who he is.
Yeah.
He is well and truly screwed.
Yunas is a master at concealing his wealth, but he couldn't help splashing out on the fraudster's badge of honour.
Top of the wardrobe. And a Rolex box. And an invoice. in the name of Mamud Ali, where he paid £13,000 for a Rolex watch. I mean, this is just fantastic, isn't it? This is how criminals get rid of their money. They buy gifts. They spend it on gifts for themselves and the family, and something like this. We don't find a 13 grand watch every day of the week in these searches.
Where's your shoes?
Yes.
It just goes to show the arrogance of these fraudsters. They think they've got away with it. He's purchased a high-value watch, £13,000. Most members of the public would never be able to afford a luxury item like that. And it pains me that you've got fraudsters out there able to buy luxury items such as this. His greed in purchasing a Rolex is ultimately going to be his downfall, because that's direct evidence linking him to the offence. So on this occasion, I'm glad he bought the Rolex.
Detectives from the City of London Police have arrested the mastermind behind a £7.8 million mortgage fraud and money laundering operation. Mohammed Yunas took over a firm of solicitors and conned several major banks into paying out millions of pounds in mortgages on properties he didn't own.
Okay, what's the offence?
Conspiracy to defraud. £7.8 million.
Detectives suspect he laundered the £7.8 million profit back to Pakistan. They have seized a gold Rolex worth £13,000 and evidence of his multiple identities.
Money laundering is central. Criminals don't do criminality for their mum to make them proud of them. They do it for criminal benefit. They do it for fast cars, property, wealth.
Is it the first time you've been in police detention?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully last.
Mohammed Yunas has some tough questions to answer about the solicitors, Montague Masons, and the false identity, Mamud Ali, that he used to commit the fraud.
Right, where are we?
He states that he's never heard of Montague Mason. First he knew about it was when he was arrested. He's never heard of Mamud Ali. It's a case of mistaken identity, and we're completely wrong. Right. So he's a completely innocent person who's never heard of Montague Mason Solicitors.
Okay.
Shall I go then, shall we? Which is what his solicitor said, actually. He says, right, you're going to let him go. I says, that's my case, Scrooge, you've just done me. You're too good.
Okay, so that was just a first account.
Let's just get his lies on tape.
Can you take your belt off for me, please?
Detectives have just 18 hours to charge or release Yunas.
Shoes off for me.
An expert at using his multiple identities to evade the authorities, they fear, if released, he could disappear forever.
She don't know the property owner, no jewellery, nothing.
A check on a Habib bank card seized from Yunas's home is the crucial breakthrough. It ties him directly to the firm of solicitors, Montague Masons. The weight of evidence against 49-year-old Mohammed Yunas is overwhelming.
The image that is projected today is a meek old man, quite frail.
Okay, sit nice and still.
The Mamud Ali I know is very intelligent. He has manipulated a number of individuals to enable him to commit fraud. In my experience, he's up there with the best of them, but he's slipped up.
Right, Mr. Yunas, I'm going to be charging you with 2 offences now. Conspiracy to defraud under Common Law Act. You conspired together with other persons unknown to defraud by dishonestly making fraudulent mortgage applications containing false information. Is there any comments you wish to make after charge?
Who are these people?
So you're saying, who are these people?
I've got nothing to do with it.
Right, okay.
I don't know any of these people. I don't know any of these.
Money launderers operate at the highest level of organised crime. The more sophisticated seek to mirror multinational corporations, setting up a labyrinth of front companies, offshore accounts, and constantly moving their funds between jurisdictions.
I think there's a combination of skills that a good money launderer must have. A devious nature, absolutely required. You have to be a schemer, able to shut the door on what lies behind your actions and the actions of others committing the crime, in respect of the harm it does to victims who lose their life savings.
Detectives are still trying to unravel the bank accounts of Ian McDonald, the money launderer they arrested at Heathrow. He and his companion, David Downs, are on bail. Hours before they flew into the UK, they both went into a bank in Vancouver, Canada. Detectives have just received the bank's CCTV and a witness statement from the manager.
This is Mr. McDonald going into the bank to try and instigate a wire transfer from the account held in this branch to another bank account in another country. The bank had been monitoring the account. They had a balance of 1.4 million US dollars, and further inspection showed that the money was coming from UK investors. They became suspicious of this and put a freeze on the account.
Bank staff questioned McDonald. The hundreds of payments from UK citizens coming into his account set alarm bells ringing.
Being a money launderer is all about maintaining a semblance of professionalism in order to make people believe that you are legitimate and that they won't report you to the authorities. All they do is wear a suit, play a front and move money from A to B.
When challenged, McDonald's front as a businessman falters. He calls David Downs in. Downs makes the first mistake of his criminal career.
This is the diagram drawn by David Downs in the bank. He was trying to tell the bank staff that his business is legitimate. He says that he is Morano, the seller, and they sell investments to UK individuals who then pay money into the bank, and Ian McDonald takes 1%. And then 97% goes back to the seller, Morano. So that's over $1 million US. It's a substantial amount of money.
Detectives know Morano Invest to be a shell company used by Downs for fraud, selling British victims worthless shares in US companies and fake carbon credits.
So evidently, Mr. Downs drawing this diagram is gold dust because it shows his true role. It shows, that he is one of the people in charge of this criminal organisation.
Delving deeper into Downs' past, detectives discover they have arrested one of the world's most wanted.
Downs is one of the significant individuals in Europe for this kind of criminality. He's been involved in this for a number of years. He is essentially involved in the organisation, and that McDonald at this time seems to be his money laundering organisation attached to the side of the criminality.
A detailed examination of David Downs' personal property provides concrete proof of his links to the money laundered in McDonald's bank accounts.
There was this, what seemingly looks like a Porsche car key. We asked our forensics department to look at it, and they realised that there was a USB stick. The information that was obtained from this USB stick basically links Mr. Downs to Mr. McDonald with regards to bank accounts that have been opened in Canada.
A document on Downs' laptop reveals he targeted thousands of victims.
We've got a list of approximately in excess of 2,000 names. You've got the name of a victim, their address, phone number, passport, a share price, how much they've paid.
This list shows Downs and McDonald had been at the top of a criminal organisation, which had perpetrated one of the biggest investment frauds in Britain. Their victims come from every corner of Britain and every walk of life. 73-year-old Nelsine Green is a retired nurse and midwife. She was hoping to provide a better future for her 3 children and 2 grandchildren.
Between 2009 and 2010, I invested £64,000. That is money that we saved up of our life working. Money that I work hard for, yeah. That was most of my money.
Nelsine is a victim of one of Downs' boiler rooms. She was cold called and pressurised into buying shares by a criminal gang masquerading as city investment brokers.
These men are so clever. And as I say, they know about share dealing. They use technical terms that probably they know that you don't understand. They're looking for people at a certain age. They're looking for people that were inexperienced about share dealing, and so that they could manipulate them into the way they want to manipulate them.
When Nelsine asked to cash in her shares, she was told to pay a 30% tax. When she refused, the phone calls stopped and her money disappeared.
Very disheartened, down. I felt really awful for a long time, where I would go to bed and just lie there, and you can't sleep. You think about it, and you're thinking that this is a lot of money that I've just chucked down the drain. What annoys me too, I've got 2 grandchildren. They're very bright children. Instead of giving my money to men like that, I could have, leave it for my grandchildren.
Today, detectives have invited victims from all over the country to London. A number have lost their life savings, others their homes. Some have had their retirement cut short, forced back to work to recoup their losses.
I've dealt with murder, rape and mayhem all my police career, but this is one crime that really got under my skin. They are cold-blooded, organised criminals who are cowards that hide behind a telephone or a website and a company that doesn't trade or exist.
The victims could provide vital evidence about Downs and McDonald's operations.
What shares did you buy?
They were in America.
The American shares. S-Red shares, were they?
Yep.
Right. I need information from you in your statements explaining to me how you came to buy the shares and how you misrepresented when they were sold to you. That's what I need to know at the moment. I need that information. Okay, this is layers of falsehoods and facts, and we need to step back and say what is true.
I've been speaking to all the victims, and during the course of this investigation, I've had a number of victims have died. I've had victims, elderly, vulnerable victims of dementia having to go into homes. I've had victims saying they feel suicidal because of their losses. It's just destroying people's lives.
Across Britain, hundreds of victims were targeted more than once. Having conned them with fake shares, Downs enticed the same victims to buy worthless carbon credits and green investments. McDonald continued as his criminal banker.
Without their activity, the criminality wouldn't have been able to go ahead. They have gone into this eyes wide open. They know what they've done. They know that they're facilitating the kind of crimes where people will be the victims at the end of it. They don't care. They might tell you that they care. They do not care.
By following the money trail from the victims' accounts to their numerous offshore accounts, detectives are able to establish the vast scale of their crime.
So the investor payments, $12 million goes into the account there. And this here shows the wire transfers out. And there are 10 other accounts controlled by Ian McDonald, and it's the same story. And the total amount of money that's gone through these accounts amounts to around 27 million. So both Ian McDonald and David Downs make a substantial amount of money as a result of this fraud.
The City of London Police is investigating one of the largest money laundering operations Britain has seen. A global criminal network run by David Downs and Ian McDonald laundered £18 million from British victims of fraud.
The scale of Downs and McDonald's criminality is huge. It can be compared with the best. It amounts to millions and millions of pounds.
An analysis of Downes's 2 phones reveals how both men flaunted their wealth.
We know that they travelled the world. They travelled business class. They had nice cars, Jaguars, Porsches, nice clothes, Hugo Boss suits, Rolex watches, luxury villas. These pictures were taken whilst they were in Canada, which was just before they were arrested. Obviously they travelled around in a limousine. So you can see here they're looking very happy, enjoying their luxurious lives.
Downes and McDonald ran their criminal empire from Spain, a well-established hiding place for British organised crime. With over 500,000 expats now living in Spain, they were able to blend into the background, with few questions asked about how they earned their millions.
Downes was one of the core individuals involved in boiler rooms in Spain. You know, he was a leading light in that criminal organisations. He was, you know, one of the central founding fathers of the criminality. He was central to the organisation.
An item seized from McDonald's home in Spain shows his wealth and arrogance.
This is a copy of a cashier's cheque that was found in Ian McDonald's home address in Spain. It's for just over $1 million US dollars. A trophy for his success in defrauding hundreds, maybe thousands of UK investors. The victims are still suffering. I feel incredibly sad for them and sad for them and the impact that this has had on their lives. I wish I could do more to help, but it's all as a result of the actions of 2 particularly greedy, selfish individuals.
For victims who are retired, the chances of ever regaining the money they've lost are slim. 68-year-old Dr. Peter Greenhalgh and his wife, Mary, invested £250,000 into one of Downes's green investment frauds.
What really puzzles me is the psychology of these people. These are highly intelligent people. The whole thing was so cleverly done. They're clever enough to run decent businesses, to make money honestly. Why do they have to do this? Why do they have to destroy people's lives? Now, it's hurt us very badly. We're on the ropes, but we're not down and out.
Like many victims, Dr. Greenhalgh is ashamed and finds it difficult to talk about what happened.
I'll tell you the amount of money, which is absolutely horrifying. It's £250,000. And I've been in business as well as in academic life, and I've had really quite a lot to do with investment, and that's one reason why I feel such a grade 1 idiot, having been suckered into this appalling fraud.
Dr. Greenhalgh and his wife were targeted at a particularly difficult time in their lives.
One thing I most bitterly regret was not going to see them at the offices in London and meeting them. I did try, but my wife was very ill at the time with having chemotherapy, and on the day that I was due to go, she woke up with a raging temperature and I had to take her into Guy's Hospital.
Their £250,000 loss means Dr. Greenhalgh fears he will have to sell his home of 18 years. He's also been forced out of retirement to work in his daughter's publishing business.
Unfortunately, we're struggling because of this. I'm sorry, Claire.
Oh. It's wonderful to have the help. I mean, I would never have...
But it's such a brilliant idea, and you deserve to succeed.
It's the getting into the bookshops, especially the really big ones, is almost impossible for independent publishers.
If we had not lost that money, this company would fly.
Because
we're now struggling because it was a huge investment.
Honest to God, I would like to see them hung, drawn and quartered in the middle of Trafalgar Square.
Downes and McDonald's multi-million-pound money laundering operation could have gone unchecked for years, but for the intervention of the Canadian bank freezing some of their funds. Detectives could not initially understand why Downs came out of the shadows and went to the bank with McDonald. Emails retrieved from Downs's computer reveal he was under pressure from criminal associates to handle their millions carefully.
Mr. Downs uses the name Smiley-Wink. The other person says, "Have you been to the bank yet?" And Smiley-Wink says, "No, mate. First morning here, Ian hasn't arranged a thing." And the other person says, "Are you fucking serious? Fly all that way without a meeting arranged? Fucking hell." And I think this conversation shows the relationship between Ian McDonald and David Downs. I think it's starting to break down, and it almost shows that Mr. Downs doesn't trust Ian McDonald. It's probably one of the reasons why he came to Canada, to check up on what Mr. McDonald was doing, and to help release the funds, to get his money.
Six months after their arrest at Heathrow Airport, detectives now have sufficient evidence to charge David Downs and Ian McDonald.
Morning. How you doing? The first charge, that between the 12th of January 2007 and the 2nd of December 2010, conspired together with David John Downs and with others to defraud such persons who could be persuaded to invest.
The professional ones, the top level, accept the likelihood of a custodial sentence if they get caught. What they don't accept is losing all their money. So if you take their money away, there's no incentive for them to do their activity. So they get put in prison and they lose all their money, then it's depressing. But if you go, I'm going to go to prison for 5 years, but I'm going to come out to £1.5 million in my bank account and a villa in Thailand, that's not so bad, is it?
In December 2012, before the case goes to court, David Downs does a deal. He pleads guilty to conspiracy to defraud and offers to give £3.9 million back to the victims. For the money and his early plea, Downs receives a reduced sentence of 4 years and 7 months. Ian McDonald chooses to be judged by a jury. After 12 weeks, they find him guilty of money laundering, but acquit him of fraud. He receives an 8-year sentence. Detectives have recovered just under £5 million from Downs and McDonald, money that will be used by the court to compensate the victims.
Money launderers everywhere know that we are coming after them. We are coming after those people who support, enable, who facilitate fraud, no matter where they are, no matter how remote they may think they are from the front line of the criminality. We are coming after them.
Mohammed Yunas, the man behind the £7.8 million mortgage fraud, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud and money laundering. He is sentenced to 7 years.